This episode is brought to you by the Sasquatch Flag Company. The Sasquatch Flag Company is a family-owned business in New England that builds hand-carved American flags from seasoned white pine. Each flag is hand-built and each star on the flag is hand-hammered and chiseled. No two flags are alike. They offer a variety of flag designs to honor the police, military, firefighters, dispatchers, and search and rescue personnel, to name a few. These stunning handmade flags look great in an office, a studio, the back porch, or above the fireplace mantle. They make the perfect gift for the veteran, first responder, or patriot in your life. Now, I love these flags, and I've been giving them as gifts for years, and I was a customer long before they became a sponsor of the show. I can't recommend them enough. So if you're looking for that perfect, uniquely American-made gift to give away, or if you want to treat yourself, go to SasquatchFlags.com and get your order in today. Welcome to the Deep Leadership Podcast. Today I'm joined by David Wood. David is a former consulting actuary who built the world's largest coaching business. He believes that the tough conversations we avoid are the doorways to confidence, success, and even love in both work and life. He is the author of Mouse in the Room, Because the Elephant Isn't Alone, for leaders, managers, partners, parents, and humans. And I'm excited to talk to him about the idea of mastering the tough conversations. So, David, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, John. I'm quite interested to see what we're going to talk about.
Me too. I mean, this is a great title for the book, and I think the idea of having those tough conversations is a really important aspect of leadership. So I really wanted to have you on the show to talk about it. But before we dive into the book and talking about conversations, tell us a little bit about how you got into the coaching business and why you decided that's what you wanted to do in your career.
Sure. Well, I thought I was doing pretty well as an actuary. I was a consulting actuary on Park Avenue, and I had great clients, Sony Music, Ford, Exxon. And someone suggested a personal growth program. So I went and did it because I wasn't happy in my marriage. And I figured I'm missing something. So I went along and checked it out. And I found that they changed my life. And I couldn't help but coach people in the course when someone was stuck. And they said, this is what's going on. I'd say, well, did you hear what the teacher said yesterday? Did you apply that? Or could you try this? And I changed somebody's life overnight. And it was such a great feeling to see how her life and her whole marriage shifted from my coaching. And so I decided to go and get training. And it was just becoming a profession back in 1997, 98. Just the occasional person would print off a business card and say coach, but no one had even heard of it. And so I went and did a training program and I got certified. And initially I thought I couldn't do business coaching because I'd gotten trained in life coaching. But then as I started working with business owners, I realized that all my training as an actuary and dealing with risk and systems and money was perfect for a business. So I started coaching business owners primarily because I understand entrepreneurs. I am one myself. And I work with them on business stuff. Everyone wants to double revenue or double their take-home pay. So we start on that, but I get to work on the whole person because I'm trained not just in business coaching now, but in people, which was a big thing for me because growing up, I didn't know anything about people. I was terrible. I didn't know how to feel. And it wasn't until I went and found all this training where I got to reclaim those parts of me. And as I discovered things like that, I'd love passing it on to my clients. So it might be something I learned 20 years ago or something I learned this morning. I get to pass it on and see someone apply it, and that's rewarding for me.
That's outstanding. So why do people seek you out? What in particular do they come to you for? What specifically about your coaching do people find valuable?
It seems to be because I ask people, what is it? Why me? Why are we talking out of the, 5 million people calling themselves a coach these days? And it's usually because I handle the business side of things and I can help them with the business with a focus on focus. One of the things I do is help people work less and achieve more. And so they like that. But the reason they chose me was because I've spent 25 years sitting with gurus and doing things that would scare most human beings and really delving into the emotional side so I can work on the whole person. And they want that. There's a part of them that like wants to communicate better, wants to be more self-expressed, wants to leave a legacy, wants to be closer with their kids. They want that. They may not want to pay for that. So they pay for doubling revenue, but they chose me because we're just going to start there. But that's not where we're going to finish up.
That's outstanding. And throughout this, podcast and all the different episodes and guests we've had, we've seen how the business ties into the leader, and if the leader's having problems, whether it's emotional, physical, spiritual, it affects the business, and so the two are connected. And so it's good to see you focusing on both sides of it. So you want to double revenue, but you may have to fix some things in yourself first, and that's very interesting that you take that
Yeah.
tack. Yeah.
And I think society is catching on these days, and they're realizing, I mean, Bill Gates has a coach for a reason, and Andre Agassi has a coach for a reason. But people are catching on to, it's ridiculous to think we're one person at work and then we're another person when we're at home. No. And how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Yes.
That's a really powerful statement. If you look at a hologram, every piece of the hologram has all of it in it. You just need a little piece of the hologram that represents all of it. Same with us. If we're treating the waiter some way, that's probably coming out with how we're talking to our wife, or how we're talking to the CEO, or how we're talking to the board. So that's a good thing. It's like, if whatever we work on at home or in your life is probably going to translate. I've got one of my best friends just said to me recently, I think I need to hire you. I'm like, okay, well, let's talk. And we just got off the phone and we just had a coaching session. And what she wants to work on is integrity. She wants to work on knowing that she's taking care of herself at the end of every day. And that involves putting a cap on the number of hours that she can work. Now, the irony is that, here's my prediction, that as she does that, as we develop that over 6 months, and she's setting greater boundaries and working less hours, she's going to make more money. She's going to attract more clients, a higher caliber of clients who respect that and want to be with someone who's really living their life and is taking care of themselves. So she's going to make more money because she's working on the life stuff. And it might sound a bit woo-woo sometimes, but I think that's how it works. You have to be enjoying yourself and you have to be loving your life, or people will not want to work with you. They will not want to promote you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I've started a new business like almost 2 years ago as an actor. So I'm still coaching and speaking and doing all that, but I've always wanted to see what would happen if I dived into acting. And, the same is true of that. If I am not loving my life, not taking a run every day and drinking my green smoothie and taking care of myself, that has an impact on who wants to be around me and who wants to hire me to come on set, and who says, let's get that guy in our next movie. It's all about your energy in your life. So that's good news if you're in business or have a job, because you can work on yourself and know that it's going to be financially rewarded.
Yeah.
That's the good news. You don't have to separate them. Say, no, I just have to burn myself out here for 10 years and focus on getting ahead in my career and getting ahead in my business, and we'll worry about living later. Those people don't come anywhere near me.
Interesting. Very interesting. Good stuff for sure. So tell us about the new book. It's called Moose in the Room Because the Elephant Isn't Alone. So who is the book for? So go ahead.
That might be the sequel, Moose in the Room. I like that.
Oh, I
This one is
said the mouse in
actually
the room.
this
Yeah.
one is actually mouse in the
The
room.
mouse in the room. Sorry. I'm from New England. We have moose up there. So maybe I've
I love
defaulted
that.
that. The
Moose in
moose
the
in the
room, and
room.
it's got a little picture of a little mouse in
It's
the
the
moose.
mouse in the room. Yes, because the elephant is alone. So who is the book?
That's right.
Who is the book written for?
A book is written for humans. Most humans, if you're anything like me and my upbringing, you weren't taught to identify what's happening inside you.
Hmm.
You weren't taught to work out, wow, I think I'm starting to feel angry, or yeah, I actually feel disappointed about that, or I have this great desire, or, oh, we know when something's bugging us. We know that. But the rest of the spectrum, it's often hard to identify, and we've been taught not to share it.
Hmm.
Let's say someone disappoints you. Let's say your boss disappoints you. What training did you have that would allow you to go and have a conversation about that and iron things out and clear the air? For most of us, it's none. And so I was fortunate enough to have many, many coaches who would constantly push me to say, David, how could you say that? Oh, no, I couldn't say that. We're talking about a bully from high school, like 25 years ago, and it came up in conversation that I didn't like the guy and I would never, ever speak to him again. And my coach walked me through it. And my brain, even after all the training I had, my brain was like, call him, call this guy and tell him I've hated him for 20 years. No, that's not going to happen. But you coached me through it. It was a pretty big mouse that I was carrying around. The reason
Hmm.
I call it mouse in the room is because we know about the elephant. That's something we have in society. You see it, I see it, no one's saying anything. Well, that's weird, and you should definitely address the elephant in the room. Maybe someone will write a book about that. Yes. If the meeting's running 20 minutes late and people are looking at their watches, there's an elephant here. All right. We all kind of know it. We're running late, but no one's talking about it. Okay, that's weird. If you get to the meeting 30 minutes late and just walk in, that might be an elephant. If other people are thinking, where the hell was he? But a mouse is something that maybe only you know.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just something you're experiencing. Maybe you're wondering if people are upset that you're late. That's a mouse. Maybe you're feeling disappointed, or maybe you're wondering if, here's an example. I was in the car with a new friend, and he was telling a story, and he was starting to waffle a bit. He's like, when people say it was in 21, no, maybe it was 2022. No, I think it was at the end. He was starting to do that. And I didn't want my friend to switch off. So I said, anyway, so he got a manager. And then later on, I just had the thought go through my mind, tiny mouse, just going, you know what? That was kind of rude. The guy was
Hmm.
telling a story, however, he was telling a story, and I cut him off. That was kind of rude. I wonder if he's upset about that. He might be like, dude, that wasn't cool. Or maybe it was nothing. I don't know. But those are two different mice. One that I'm thinking I did the wrong thing, and two, I'm
Hmm.
wondering about him. And so Mouse in the Room is about identifying those things and then going and naming that mouse with the other person. And so because I've written the book and I've been practicing, I sent him an audio message, and I just said, by the way, I noticed I cut you off when I told that story, and I apologize. What was going on for me is I was worried she was going to switch off, and I wanted to just get to the end. I jumped ahead. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just let you tell your story. Is there any way I can make it up to you? Or I want to know the impact. And he just got back to me and he said, I don't even remember it,
Hmm.
so totally fine. So I got to find out that there's nothing there. But he also said, that was really nice of you to check in.
Hmm.
So my story, and this is a story mouse, I don't know if it's true, but my story is that his trust in me went up, and that he feels closer to me, because I took the time to check in and just, did I mess up there or did I not? And that's a
Hmm.
great question to go and ask of anybody when you're unsure. Did I mess up? Did I do something? Did I put you off? I've got neighbors in my building who don't even look at me. There's one that just she used to be friendly and now she's not. And I don't know what's going on. How often does that happen?
Yeah, a
Someone at
lot.
work,
Yeah.
someone at work doesn't seem that friendly, and your mind is going to town. In the book, this is a storytelling mouse. So what you can
Mm.
do is go up and say, hey, I'm just curious if I might have said something wrong, something I could apologize for. Because, we used to chat and now we don't. Is there maybe something I did?
Mm.
Person might
Interesting.
say,
Yeah, that's an
go ahead.
interesting mouse because I think about I had an employee at one plant I ran for 8 years. I've run a number of different manufacturing plants, but one of the plants I had an employee who, when I first started there, seemed to like me. We had a lot of good conversations, and then maybe the last, I don't know, 4 years or so, he just wouldn't talk to me. He would ignore me, and I never breached the subject. I just said, well, I don't know what I've done. I don't think
Right,
I've done anything wrong, but
right.
so
That's our default.
yeah,
That's our default. And I'm written the book to change the bar. So
yeah,
instead of we'll just have the conversation when I really have to and I can't avoid it,
yeah.
or when we're both really drunk. Um, I created a one pager because this is complex stuff about how to go forward. And if you don't do it in the right way, you can step on a minefield. But after 25 years of doing this, I wrote a one pager, which will give you a simple map to follow. It's called the 3D process. The first D is discover. What is your
Mm,
mouse? All you may know is I don't like what's going on. I don't, I don't feel comfortable with this person. The D's discover what your mouse is and how you're feeling about it, and start to look at what would be the upside of having the conversation. Like, what would be my hope? And then what could go wrong? This is why we haven't had the conversation, right? What could go wrong? And then if you're willing to accept the consequences, you check the box, and then you proceed to, oh no, sorry, that's the decide. So the discover is what is my mouse and what am I feeling? The decide section is what could go wrong, what could go right, and is this worth it? And I'll tell you, 8 times out of 10, I've found it's worth it. Once you've got this roadmap, the way you were doing it, maybe not, but your stats are going to be more like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. It's worth it to go and have the conversation. And then if you decide, yes, I'm willing to accept these possible consequences for the upside, and the upside might be, I want to sleep better at night.
mm,
I want a closer working relationship with this person. I don't want it to be awkward. I just want it to be good. Or I want to get the promotion, or I want to get this client to work with me, or whatever it is. Once you've got that positive intent, the third D is disarm. You want to
mm,
disarm the person. You're not going to go in with, hey, I'm pissed, we need to talk. I had one of my colleagues who teaches this stuff once texted me that, and it wasn't a joke. She was pissed, and that's how she wrote it. And I later on, when we're actually talking about it, I said, look, you open to a little coaching on that? And she said, yeah. And I said, you can do better than that text. I know you were pissed, but you're not normally going to get me on the other end of the phone. You're going to
mm,
get someone else. You're going to put them offside. Because my first reaction was, no, you need to talk. I don't need to talk about anything.
mm,
So disarm is going to give you a simple roadmap for how to set up the conversation so that the other person goes, oh, yeah, yeah, now's a good time. What do you got? What's on your mind?
mm. Yeah.
Rather than them, because if you just say, hey, we need to talk about something, if you're like me, you're going to assume that you're in trouble.
Well, you get defensive when you hear that, right?
Yeah, I'm in
Yeah.
trouble, or I want to tell you about something that didn't work for me. It's like, ah. But if someone comes to me and says, hey, I've been thinking about that meeting last week and thinking about a desire I have about our
Mm,
future meetings, and I wonder if you have a few minutes to talk about it. Because I think my intent is I'm hoping that the meetings could go even better. I think they could be even more fun for everybody. Do you have a few minutes? And if they say yes, now they've given consent. And it's like,
mm,
oh yeah, what do you got? Well, what happened was this in the meeting. And when that happened, I get concerned, say it might be, I noticed that you were late last meeting and it's happened a few times before. Does that sound right? So just check we're on the same page. And when that happens, I worry that other people are going to start being late and the meetings are just going to fall apart. And I find when people are on time, there's a sense of we're in it together. We all showed up here and let's do it. And I want that. And I
Mm.
wonder if you'd be willing to come, let's say 5 minutes early and be an example for everyone else from now on. What do you think about that? Right? There are ways to come at it rather than because if you don't come at it the right way, the other person, yeah, they get defensive, and then it's it's not a good experience. And then you just go, oh, now I know why I don't talk about these things. I don't want
Right,
you to have that
exactly.
experience.
Yeah.
I had one person write to me and say, I've been using this forum and I'm now batting 4 for 4. I've had
Mm.
4 tough conversations in a row, and each of them have been wonderful. And just because, and you can even take the printout with you. It's a free download on my website, mouseintheroom.com. You can download it, look at the top left, because people go, where is it? Top left, download it, fill it in. You can have it with you and say, I wrote down some notes because I didn't want to forget anything. There you go. You don't have to like have had 20 years of practice and be able to do it all off the top of your head. No, write it down and then take it. I'll even, for some of the really tough ones, I might do a video. So I'll go through the form, I'll fill it in, whatever, and then I'll do a video. And if I don't like how the video came out, I'll do it again. I've done 7 or 8 if it's a really tricky one. And then I get it shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And I watch it, and then I'm like, okay, that's pretty positive. And
Mm.
they can say yes or no. And I've given freedom to say yes or no. And then I send the video and say, look, if you're open to it, continue watching. And if you don't want to hear what I've got to say, stop the video now. So we got the
Mm.
consent.
Yeah.
And I've had really great results with that. Everybody watches the video. And I say I'm happy to talk about it. I just wanted to do this as a first pass. And sometimes that's all you need. And they're like, oh, totally hear you. Yes, I'm on board. Or yeah, let's talk about it. And then we have a talk, but at least I know I've said everything I wanted to say. And then for bonus points, once you've said everything you want to say, check in with them to
Mm.
see what their mice are. You don't want to just say, oh, well, thanks for listening. Bye. And
One
they're
way,
left with a
right?
whole bunch of mice.
Yeah.
No, how was it for you to hear this? You know, was it awkward or inspiring or embarrassing or something in between or annoying that I'm coming to you with this? And then find out how it is for them, and they can share their mice.
Yeah, I like that a lot. What's the benefit when we do have these tough conversations, when we do identify the mice and we do have these and we do better connect with people, whether it's in our work life, in our home life, in our community? What's the benefit?
Well, let's first talk about what happens when we don't do that. Like, what
Mm.
are we suffering from by not bringing it up? I know when something's really triggering me, I have trouble sleeping. Now, it doesn't happen very often, but like something upset me the other day. A neighbor had her dog by the exit of our building, and the dog will bark at you as you go past. And so I had to experience this when I left and when I came back. And I'm thinking, hey, what if you moved your dog 10 feet over there? Maybe it wouldn't bark at people coming in and out. Would you be willing to do that? Right? I could ask, have the conversation. But it upset me. I didn't have that conversation, and it upset me. I did say, would you move your dog? And she just brought it closer to her, and that was it. And I realized I really, there's an opportunity here. But I was upset. I was kind of triggered, and this dog's barking at me. So my nervous system's activated. And then I got upstairs and I didn't feel good. So that's your clue. You often won't feel good. Maybe it's keeping you up at night. Maybe it's some issue with your boss or some person who could pay you a lot of money and they're upset with you. There's a hierarchy. What if your partner's upset with you, or there's something that's awkward and you're having a fight? Okay. It feels bad. And then you got to tiptoe around that person and just like, oh, every time you see them, there's that thing, you know? So that's some of the bad stuff about not having the conversation. If you do have it, what I find often happens is, one, I feel more relaxed. I feel better about myself because I spoke up. When I'm on a plane, can't stand people bumping my seat. Can't stand it. I get agitated and anxious. And so I turn around as soon as I get on the plane. I say, "Hey, how you doing? Can I make an unreasonable request? Or can I ask you a favor? I sometimes get nervous flying, and bumping the seat makes it harder. So if you could just put some extra attention on it, on not bumping it, I'd be really grateful. You know, it's a little embarrassing for me to have to ask about it." And every single person, last 20 people, like, "Oh yeah, you got it. Fine, no problem.
Mm,
Thank you so much. I appreciate it."
yeah.
And then I say, "And accidents happen. I know sometimes you can't help it. That's not a problem. You know, so don't stress about it." Every time I do that, I relax now for the rest of the flight, regardless of whether they bump me,
Mm,
because I've spoken up. So there's a power and integrity in simply speaking your truth. "Hey, you know, I have a desire for this. Would you be up for that?" "No?" "Okay." "Hey, I've been putting up with this and it's kind of bugging me." Like the lady with the dog, it stresses me out. "Would you be willing to move just 10 feet? I'd appreciate it. Maybe your dog won't bark." There's an integrity in having expressed that. So that's one benefit. Two, you get to have an impact on the other person and model for the whole of the world what leadership looks like, what going first looks like, what taking a risk looks like. I'm going to tell the truth and see what happens between us two humans. That's a bold move. We need that in the world, and you get to model that. Three, and I don't know how many numbers there are. I'm just making these up as they come to my head. Another benefit is, you probably will feel closer to the person. Just saying your piece and being heard is amazing. Just that, just that they heard you and they get it. Sometimes that's all you need. You'll probably feel closer. If you get some empathy and they're like, "Oh yeah, oh, wow, I didn't even know. I'm so sorry about that." I once did that with an ex-girlfriend. I told her why I didn't want to be friends for 11 years because there was something I was holding on to. I finally told her and she's like, "I'm so sorry." And I didn't know I needed an apology, but I just wept.
mm,
That came out of telling the truth. And now she's a good friend of mine. I even hired her as a PA for a while. She came and was supporting me around the house, all because I had that conversation. And the fourth benefit, which some might think I should lead with, but I like to end with this, is you might get the result you're after. You might be after more pay or a promotion, or you might be after that celebrity endorsing your book, or someone coming to speak at your live event, or a client signing up with you. You might get those wonderful results out of having the conversation that you've been avoiding. So I like to leave that for last because that's often what we're going for. I gotta learn this tough conversation stuff so I can
mm,
build my business. Okay, great. It also, here's another thing. I think it increases people's trust in you. And they won't always know why they like you more and want to hang around you more or work for you more or follow you as a leader. They won't be able to put their finger on it. There was one time I sat down with someone I was so starstruck by, Jack Canfield of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and I got to sit next to him at a luncheon, and I was like, "Oh my God." And I practiced telling the truth and naming my mice, and I can't believe it's still amazing that I said this to him, but I said, "Would you be open to considering writing the foreword to my book?" And I said, "Look, I want to be honest and upfront. I've asked Richard Branson. And if Richard Branson says yes, I'm going to go with that. But I'm
mm.
wondering, and I know this is a bold request, would you consider being a backup?" And classic Jack, he said, "Well, you're going alphabetically. I understand that." And so he made a joke about it.
That's really
But
good.
but anyway, Richard Branson did say no. Jack Canfield did say yes.
Yes, I saw that. Yeah.
And I ended up not only having him write the foreword, but I ended up once having lunch with him at his house. And I was feeling so thrilled and privileged to be at his home having lunch. And his wife came out and we hung out, and they ended up inviting me to stay overnight and watch the presidential debates and do kickboxing in the morning. And it was such a lifetime thrill for me to have that happen. I am 100% convinced that if I was not practicing mouse naming and not practicing telling the truth, particularly when it could cost me something, that would never have happened, because I'd just be like everybody else.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, some people, they meet me and they run for the hills. They're like, I don't want to be around someone who's telling the truth and being expressed and whatever. But a lot of other people are drawn to that. And they're like, oh, I want some of that. I want to be like that. So the more you're willing to practice mouse naming, I think you become more charismatic, and you will lose the people who shouldn't be around you. You will lose maybe the job or the partner or the people that should not be around you, and you will attract the people and opportunities that should. And so I'm beating the drum for self-expression all over the planet. This is what I want. I get excited about it.
No, that's great. This is a fantastic book. And maybe just before we wrap up, is there a final message you'd like to leave with our listeners about this idea of tough conversations? We covered a lot of items, but what would be the final message to our listeners today
Sure.
about the subject?
They don't have to be tough.
Yeah.
It's tough for you.
Yes,
because
that's what I was going to say.
something's
Yeah.
coming up. Something's coming up for you. So these conversations are a gateway into personal growth and leadership. So look, identify the conversations, and the quickest and easiest way I know is to spend $12.95. I don't get to keep much of that. I didn't write the book for the money, but buy the thing on Amazon, read it. If you really like it, share it with your family, share it with your friends, share it with your staff, because it'll be so much easier for you to just have this be part of the culture. Hey, can I name a mouse with you? Hey, what's going on, right? Shift the whole culture. So they don't have to be tough, but it's tough for you because you get to discover something every time you name one. Oh, this is why I'm worried about how people are going to see me. I'm worried about money. I'm worried about they're going to think I'm too sensitive, and they're going to tell other people that I'm an idiot. Okay, great. Now I know what I'm worried about. Am I willing to risk that for the upside? Even filling out the form, the 3D process, that is a win, because you get to learn something about yourself. There's one other type of mice in the book. There are 8 different types of mice, but one is called mirror mouse. And the thing I realized writing the book, at the end, I got to the end of the book, I'm like, they're all mirror mice. They're all for you. If you decide to name one with someone else, bonus points. But just you working out, this is what's going on for me, that's going to make you a far better leader and human.
Yeah. That's great. Great advice. Fantastic. How can our listeners find out more about you, your company, and this book?
Thank you. Well, a lot of focus.ceo is my coaching website. It's not .com. I got the CEO domain, so focus.ceo. A lot of information on there is free. You can sign up, and I send like 2 emails a week with a tip on improving your business and your life. You can reach out to me at david@focus.ceo. If you have a question that I didn't answer, I'm happy to help you. Please don't add me to your mailing list. I like to opt in for that, but if you want to reach me personally, that's how to do it. If you're interested in coaching for your business or your team, go to focus.ceo and click on apply for coaching. There's a really great intake form which will ask you probing questions. Only takes about 5 minutes, but you'll learn a lot. And if you submit it, it'll take you to my calendar where we can get on the phone, and I don't charge for those initial sessions. because it's how I find the right people to work with. So that's all at focus.ceo. And I've already mentioned, if you want the worksheet or to buy the book Mouse in the Room, you can go to mouseintheroom.com.
Okay. Very good. And we're going to put links in the show notes for all those resources. So listeners, the book is Mouse in the Room. If you have those that anxiety about having a difficult conversation, or have a conversation that needs to be had, but you're not sure how to have it, this is a great resource for you. And again, not only the book, but also the worksheet you can use to be able to figure out how to be able to, get those conversations happening. This is going to create it's going to de-stress your life. I think we have a lot of anxiety about conversation. If you have a plan for having the conversation, it's going to make things a lot easier for you. David, I really appreciate you.
It can double your,
go ahead.
And it can double your business.
Yeah, it could double your business. Absolutely. Yeah.
Potential clients and endorsers and all those things. You got to keep on asking and asking and asking and having these conversations. So it's a great way, not just to live your life, but to grow the finances as well. I want to put that in there for the left brain people here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, have those conversations, grow your business, enjoy your life better by having those conversations. This is a great resource. David, thanks for coming on the show and sharing all this insight in this new book.
My pleasure, John. Thanks for the great questions.
Well, thank you. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening to Deep Leadership. If you like this podcast, please subscribe and share so we can continue to build a world with better bosses. Until next time, this is John Reddy saying take care and lead well.